In the past video, I talked about Chinese people don't really care about ideologies and religions and things like that. So here's the question. Do Chinese people believe in Communist Party? First of all, the Chinese Communist Party started it back in 1921, something like that. So right now it's about like a little bit more than 100 years. And even the new China only is 75 years. But Chinese culture has been there for thousands of years. So I can tell you that no, Chinese people don't really believe much about Communist Party, Socialist Party, whatever. It doesn't matter to Chinese people. So whoever in charge of China doesn't really matter much to Chinese people as long as they can make their life better. And if you look back in the history of China, actually China didn't choose communists in the first place. It tried democracy, capitalist, and all this road, they've been tried it already, and they all fail. And only when they tried the Communist Party, Socialist, and it actually worked in a way. It really doesn't matter who's in charge of China. It could be communist, it could be socialist, it could be capitalist, it could be anything. It doesn't even need to be humans. It could be an aliens, it can be AIs. And to be honest, in the future, if AI really runs the country, it won't even matter to Chinese people because for them, as long as you can make our country better, make their life better, nothing matters. When people in the West think that China is under Communist Party, is a socialist society, and they were saying that like there's no democracy, there's no freedom and things like that. In a way, it's kind of true, but it's not completely. About why China chose communists and socialists, I wanted to tell you a story that I've heard many years ago. So in this story, there's three countries, America, Soviet Union, and China. And they all come across to this crossroad, and there's two signs. One says capitalist and one says communist. For America, it goes to capitalist immediately. And for Soviet Union, they chose the communist. But for China, when China come across this crossroad, it look at both sides and it stand there and sing for some time. And then he changed the sign and then he go this way. So this is how China works. China didn't just choose capitalist or communist. It chose a practical way. It doesn't matter what the ideology it is. So, yeah. There are lots of people in the Western countries, when they hear about the ideas of communists and socialists, they get a little bit scared. But if you look at the history, you will realize there's a lot of things in Western countries that actually got affected or from the socialist ideas, such as social welfare, labor rights, public health care and free education, equality in genders, and so many other things. All these good things, they're actually related to socialist ideas. So in a way, you should thank socialist or communist. I can understand that why so many people have misunderstanding related to socialist or communist because of the time in Soviet Union and all those stuff. But if you actually look at the idea itself, it's not completely that bad. A lot of things is happening right now in Western countries. So don't get trapped by all these ideologies. All of these ideas, they are not distinguished that much from one to another. They always entangle. History is very complicated. And same goes ideologies. They developed and they affect one to another. So if you think that China is under Communist Party and it's terrible and things like that, well, don't just listen to what the media tells you. Just go there and find out yourself. I always think that Chinese people are living in a really colorful bubbles because, in China, they have a really good life. It's really convenient, it's really cheap, and it's really technology advanced. But it's like a really colorful bubble. They are shielded from a lot of information from outside. They cannot access Facebook, YouTube, Google, and so many other things. And also Chinese government doesn't allow a lot of information go inside China as well. And actually I even made a painting to describe this idea, like this one. But later on I realized that it's not just Chinese people are living in the bubble. A lot of people living in the Western countries, they are the same. They've been living in the bubble made by the medias. They don't really know much what's going on in the East, like, for example, China. And they still have so many wrong ideas about China. So in a way, a lot of us, globally speaking, are living in the bubble. And actually there's a term for it. It's called information cocoon. So there are so many information out there, but it's really easy to trap yourself in some certain information. It's like the bug that you trap yourself inside the cocoon by some certain informations. And it limited your perceptions about the real world. And in a way, it's much easier and more comfortable to do that. But if you actually wanted to learn the truth, you have to break this information cocoon and actually get to know the other side of the story. So if you want to learn about China, the best way is just to go there, to experience, to live, to feel what is going on. Lately, I've been trying to move the videos from TikTok and post it on Chinese channels like WeChat and whatever. And some of them cannot be posted. Especially, I have this one day talking about freedom with this painting. So this is a big topic about freedom of speech. And to be honest, right now, it's not the best in China. Take my art, for example. This year I have 2 exhibitions in China. Both of them have some kind of governmental background. Like, the government is kind of supporting these exhibitions. Some of my paintings cannot be exhibited in these exhibitions. And one of them is related to the Palestinian-Israel war right now. So some of my paintings, when it's related to politics or sex and things like that, when it comes to the official exhibitions, they cannot be exhibited. But if it's like private exhibitions, then it should be fine in most cases. So that's one of the reasons that I'm not living in China right now as an artist. The art in China, it's like a cripple. It's not the best environment for artists or free thinkers to express their ideas. But that's not always the case in China. It really depends on who runs China. Because back in the old days, they're much more free in China. Back in the old days, they even had movies, had naked scenes happening in the cinema. So it really depends on the era of who runs the country at the moment. Personally, I wouldn't suggest China to be too open to everything because we have such huge population and it would be chaotic if we are free like America. But I do hope there's much more free than what is happening right now. Either it's the freedom of speech or to art and various other topics. So who knows, maybe it will happen in the future. When it comes to freedom, many people think that China really doesn't have much, but we have other free things. For example, we have free public toilets, and I realize it's not really common in Europe. When I visited Germany, for example, you have to pay like €1 to just go to the toilet. That's ridiculous. But in China, the public toilet is everywhere and they are all free. In Poland, the public toilet is a little bit better than Germany, I think. It's still not a lot, but sometimes you have this little box that you can still go inside. It's not the best scenario, but it's better than nothing. And it's free. So for me, when I come to Europe and I realize that you have to pay to go to the public toilet, it's ridiculous. I mean, like, Germany is so rich that you cannot even give free toilet to the public. Like, what? When the West is talking about human rights and things like that, being able to pee freely, that's the basic human right. And you don't even have that. So when I was staying in Berlin for only 3 days, and I already seen at least 3-4 times people peeing in the park during the daytime when other people just passing by. So how is that good for the city? When you walk in the street and see people just peeing right there next to you and have these horrible smells. And that is really, really crazy in these developed countries. China may have a lot of problems, but when it comes to this part, it did so much better than the West.